a really long sentence. I see it actually that number jumping up really quickly. So thank you to those that are filling it out now, and we'll end it and share the results. So more about who is here with us today. Looks like we have some great representation from Africa. 85% of you are from Africa. Fun fact, two of our top countries in terms of people supported are Nigeria and Ghana. So if you are from those countries, you're in good company. Then East Asia at 2%, but then jumps back up for South and Southeast Asia at 10%. Great to have all of you here. One of our second biggest, or one of our other big countries are just India, and then there's some others in there too. I won't list them all out, but great to have you. Then there's some light representation from all of the rest. So great to have everyone here. And then where are you in your study abroad journey? About a third of you are still thinking about studying. That means you're planning really early, which is great. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice we have typically is start early in your planning to make sure, you stay low stress. And then 36% have applied to study and are still waiting to hear back. So best of luck. And then the last third is split between being accepted to study at 27%. Congratulations. And then 6% are currently enrolled. So great to have all of you here. We actually have something to offer no matter where you are. If you're still thinking about studying, we can help you select your program of choice in our website. If you're currently enrolled, we also help students that are currently in school. So no matter where you are, there's something we can do to help. Last, the most important question, what is your dream vacation? And then it looks like half of our attendees like a sunny coastline. 28% snowy mountains, and then last at 21%, the quiet forest. So Ron, I really have to know which of these are your dream vacation?
I really love a sunny coastline. That's where I go most of my vacation. So yeah.
Silver, I know this is your favorite question.
It's wrong. Next time, Ron, if you're going to a sunny coastline, just hit me up. That's my favorite too.
Raul, are you in the sunny coastline crowd?
I am. I can complete the
How did I get three
trifecta.
people with sunny coastline today?
It's very relaxing and very rejuvenating for sure.
So I'm from the sunny coastlines where I grew up, so I'm going to choose quiet forest just to be different. But happy to say, if you're going to the US or Canada, you can find all of these things there, depending on the time of year. So almost a trick question. We have everything. Great. So we've made it through the intros, and now we're going to make it on to sort of the meat of the presentation, why you came here today. So first, Silver's going to start and introduce MPOWER to all of you, since it looks like a fair bit of you are still thinking about studying and pretty early in your journey. Later, Ron's going to walk us through more about the value of a loan and what you can expect in terms of return on investment. And then last, Raul will take most of our time in walking through the application day. So that's a little bit about what we're about to get into. But starting with Silver. Silver, many people here are really early in their education journey. Can you talk a little bit more about what MPOWER does and just a little bit of context about our history?
Okay, thank you. This is my favorite question. So at MPOWER, we want to empower international students to fund your overseas education independently. We established in 2014. So far, it has been nearly 10 years. And then we have this mission in mind. So the product we're offering is very different from the traditional banks and also many other lenders. We offer student loans of up to $100,000 to each student without cosigner or collateral. We can do this because we use an innovative method to review and approve your loan application. Instead of only focusing on your past financial history or your family's financial situations, we evaluate your future earning potential based on a comprehensive look that includes your academic performance and also your future career path to approve your loans. That is an overview of what we're doing, and I'm very proud of what MPOWER is doing.
Great. So now people know who we are, who MPOWER is, and maybe they are still interested in our study abroad offer. So Silver, I think the next question is, how do our attendees know if they qualify for the MPOWER student loan?
Sure. I see that many of you that are still thinking about study, or you have been recently accepted from a school. Congratulations for you. And so if you want to submit an application now, make sure you meet our eligibility requirements. Here are 3 elements I'm going to cover. So first one is that you need to be an international student or DACA recipient or US citizen, refugee, or asylum seeker. And second one is that you need to attend or get accepted to one of our eligible schools. Currently, that we support students studying at 400 universities and colleges across the US and Canada. So there's a high chance that we'll have you covered. And the third element is that you need to be within 2 years of graduating or about to begin a 1-year or 2-year program.
Awesome. So we certainly have a loan, but we are more than just a lender, Silver. Can you talk more about the other programs we offer outside of financing?
All right. I have a slide for that. I will have my coworker, Ukarsh. Thank you, Ukarsh. Yeah, so MPOWER is a public benefit corporation, and we actually take our status as a public benefit corporation very seriously, and we are trying to help students however we can. And here are the 3 elements of what we offer that I'm very proud of. The first one is that our loan do not require cosigner or collateral, and this allows you to apply independently without involving your family. As I said, we have a unique credit model that we evaluate your academic performance to estimate your future earning potential, which is a very different approach than the traditional lenders. And the second one we offer is that we offer a fixed interest rate. And actually, we're the only company in the world that provides fixed interest rates to international students without a cosigner. And having a fixed interest rate means your rate remains the same throughout the entire time while you repay the loan. So if the global interest rate increase, and your rate will not increase, and this helps you to make your financial planning easier, since your monthly payment will not change dramatically over the long term. And the third one is that we disperse a loan directly to your school in US dollar. And this means that with an MPOWER loan, and you do not need to risk arriving overseas with less US dollar or less Canadian dollar than you thought you are. And our loan can be used to pay for your tuition at any of our eligible schools. And also for many of our support schools, that you can also use our loan to pay for your living expenses. So always check with your financial aid office to make sure what our loan covers. And outside of our loan, that we also have great programs for international students. Next slide, please. And the first one is a referral program. If you refer a friend to MPOWER, for every successful referral, you will get a total of $400 US, and your friend also will get $100 US. How to refer a friend. So here is so go to our refer a friend page, and our chat moderator will send a link in the chat box. You need to create your unique referral link or code. And once your friend's application gets approved, you will receive $300 US, and an extra $100 US if your friend's loan gets dispersed. Also, for your friend, they will get $100 US if they take the loan. You do not need to be an MPOWER customer to refer friends, and there's no limit on how many referrals you can make. And the second one is actually my favorite, is a merit-based scholarship program. We offer scholarships with awards of up to $10,000 US per person. And in addition, each month we host a contest where you can win a share of $3,000 US in scholarship awards. You also do not need to be an MPOWER loan customer to apply. Come our website to check the detailed criteria and deadlines for each scholarship. And the third program we offer is the Path to Success program. We want to make sure that you're successful because only you successful, we're successful. So we offer this Path to Success career support to all of our loan customers, and it's free for all. So once your loan is disbursed, you will receive a welcome email to join this program. And we hope that we can help you throughout the whole journey of your study abroad and also after you graduate from your school. So that's all what we offer.
Right. So just to summarize, we have a lot of great benefits for our loan for international students, making us one of the strongest, actually the strongest option for students going abroad in the US and Canada. Canada. And then plus that, we have a lot of other programs, scholarships, lucrative referral program, as well as our Path to Success program, which is free for customers. And so thank you so much, Silver. I'm going to turn it over to Ron. And Ron's going to walk us through the return on investment of a loan. That's one of the biggest questions we get, which is, will this pay off in the end? And so, Ron, over to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to take you guys through a slide to explain this a little bit better. So we're going to focus on this person, this fictional person called Asha, and her journey through her financing, through her basically her whole journey before she goes to school and what are her other options. So before school, she's working as a junior data analyst. She's working in Bangalore, India, and she makes around 7,000 US dollars a year. But she wants to take her career to the next level, and she has multiple options to do that. She can just stay with the company and kind of grow there itself. The second option she has, she can come to the US, study, and do a degree here. And let's see what would be the better return on investment for her. So let's take her as an example. So she's admitted to the Illinois Institute of Technology in the Masters in Computer Science program. And currently she has $15,000 in savings and also a scholarship. And she takes a $40,000 US loan to cover the rest of her tuition cost. So what would happen? After she graduates, she receives a work authorization to work in the US. She's hired as a computer engineer in the US, and she gets around a $97,000, $98,000 salary, and she begins working towards earning her permanent residency in the US. So that was one option that she can take. The second option that she could have taken was probably stay in her home country itself. Currently her salary is around 6,000, and in like 3 years her salary would have grown at around 10% annually. So I would probably take her to around 12 to 13,000 at the end of 2025. So if you look at it that way, the return on investment is not that much. There's no opportunity cost there because she didn't really do anything. She just stayed at a company and currently grew at that level. But what she actually decided to do was take a risk, take a $40,000 loan, and that ended up her getting a salary of around probably close to $97,000, $98,000. But when you look at that, her earning potential has gone up by almost what 10x, 10 to 12x. But to get that earning potential of 10 to 12x, she had to take a $40,000 loan. But once she graduates, she'll be very easily be able to clear that loan within maybe 3 to 4 years, depending on how aggressive she wants to be to pay down that debt balance. So when you look at it, going to the US is a very, very good return on investment. Basically, your salary can increase exponentially. In this example, it increased 10 to 12x. And that's why there's a huge ROI that one person can get once they come to the US study versus pretty much staying in their home country, and you won't really see that much growth in your wages.
Great. Thank you, Ron. So if you heard something that Silver or Ron might have said and you have questions about it, talk to them in the chat. Say, hey, Silver, hey, Ron, I have a question about this. And they might get back to you in the next little bit because Raul is about to present the loan application. So I'm going to turn it over to Raul and he'll take you from here.
Thank you, Claire. So as Claire just stated, we're going to go ahead and, walk through the application process. I know sometimes there could be a lot of questions in regards to the process itself or what information we need to plug in and what we're looking for on the MPOWER side to make sure that we can have a speedy process in reviewing your application. So give me a second here.
So while Roll pulls that up, I have one tip that I typically say at the beginning, and I failed to say it today. If you have a really specific question about your already submitted loan app, something that's really detailed, and we'd have to, look up your case to understand and get back to you, please provide your email address associated with your account. It's just not something we're able to pull up quickly during the session, but we'd love to get back to you. So if you're one of those people who have a really specific question about your already submitted loan app, make sure your email address associated with your account is submitted along with your question. So hope that helps. And back to you, Raul.
Thank you, Claire. All right, team. So as we go through this application walkthrough, as I said, we're going to cover main points that can really assist you as you're processing your application. But most importantly, as I stated earlier, we want to make sure that you can provide the valuable information that we're going to need to get a response back to you as quickly as possible. So as we get started, so as you can see, the first step would be, of course, starting your application. Once you start your application, then of course you're going to go through your eligibility, which we're going to cover here shortly. But with your eligibility, it's more so about telling us about yourself, your school, and the degree that you want to earn. And then, of course, as we transition into the basic information, how and where to reach you at, your immigration status, and of course, your visa details, which is going to be important during the application process and the process itself. And then, of course, your major program, any employment details that you may have. And then, of course, we'll transition into the financial information where we'll discuss your financial plan, including any required or existing funds, any debt, or any disclosures that you have. And most importantly, of course, your ID validation and verification, identifying the documents, and of course, any final application review. And then, of course, finally submitting your application. So as we get started with the first step in regards to checking your eligibility. So of course, once you start your application process, biggest thing to know is, of course, we're going to ask you a few questions here. And the main one is, what brings you to MPOWER? So, of course, most of you are looking to study in the United States or Canada. So, of course, if you're looking or thinking about studying, then, of course, we have that option for you. If you've been accepted already, then, of course, we have that option. If you haven't been accepted, but you're thinking about studying, then, of course, we have solutions for you as well. And most importantly, of course, if you're currently enrolled at a school, or if you're transferring into another school. So once you start your application, this is going to be the first step of the process. And depending on the option that you choose, then of course it will take you throughout the application process itself. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that as you choose a specific option, then of course the application is going to be tailored to that specific option that you choose. So as we move along in regards to checking your eligibility as well, once you've chosen that specific option, and of course it'll be tailored to you, then of course we move along to your expected graduation date, your current GPA, but most importantly, what you're looking to study. So we're able to finance master's degree, PhD programs, bachelor's degree, and as you can see here, MBA degrees, junior doctorate degrees, and even law degrees. So of course, depending on what you're looking to study, where you're looking to study, then of course you would make the adequate choice here. And then same thing with previous slide. If depending on what you choose, then of course the application will be tailored moving forward to that option that you choose. So as we continue, the biggest thing here is filling out first and last name. Now, the number one question that we get is, what name to fill out. This here would go off your government issued identification, primarily your passport. So depending on the first legal name that you have in your passport, you would fill this out. I know in some countries we have a middle name or we may have two middle names, but of course you can fill this out first and last name based on the information that's provided on your passport. Now, once you've continued with that, we'll continue forward. Then, of course, we're going to ask for just some basic information, your citizenship country. So now, of course, your citizenship country would be where you're a citizen of. So we'll take an example. If you're coming in from Africa, then, of course, you would either put down either Nigeria, Ghana, or any African country that you may have. But most importantly, your permanent address as well. Now, the importance of the permanent address and the phone number is matter of us to get in communication with you, right? So depending on the phone number that you choose, whether it's an international phone number, we are able to make outreach via that international phone number. So of course, making sure that you can provide us with an adequate phone number, but most importantly, a working phone number where we can reach you at just to discuss the application with you or to discuss any additional information that may be needed, will be key to this process. And also, of course, as you can see down here as well, if you want to be contacted using WhatsApp, we definitely recommend that. So you would want to choose yes. If not, then of course you choose no. Moving along, just with the basic information here in regards to your immigration status. So if you're an international student and you're coming from, let's say, Africa, then of course, you can choose either non-citizen, permanent resident, citizen, DACA. If you're coming in from Africa, then of course it would be a non-citizen, but it's all dependent on your immigration status, of course. And then also, we'll inquire with you if you already have a visa to study in the United States. If you do, perfect. We would ask that you upload it towards the end of the application. If you don't, no worries at all because we don't require those immigration documents up front. Now, one thing to do keep in mind is that the reason that we ask in regards to your visa status in the United States, especially is in Canada, is because, of course, in order for us to disperse your loan, we would require the visa to release those funds to your school. Now, if you do have a visa, then of course you can also notify us as to what type of visa you have. It could be an F1, a H1B, a J1, or any other visa status, but all information that you can provide would be helpful through the application process itself. Moving along in regards to school and employment. So this is where you would tell us, of course, what you're studying. So what major you're going to be studying, but most importantly, the school that you're going to be attending. Sorry about that. And so in this process also, it's going to ask you whether the major that you're studying is STEM related. So of course, is your major part of the science, technology, engineering, or math section? And if it is, then of course you would choose yes. Now, the biggest thing about the STEM major is once you receive your admissions letter or you receive a communication from your school directly, a lot of schools, whether it be US or Canada, they will notify you if your course qualifies for STEM designation. If it does, then that would definitely help us make a more adequate decision as well. And typically it's provided on your admissions letter, but if it's not, it's something that you can definitely provide separately. But if it's already on the admissions letter, then we can use that to verify your STEM. Now, also, it's going to ask you if you're going to be attending full-time or part-time. Of course, this would be where you notify us your status. Most importantly, if you are already enrolled, then of course it'll ask you for your cumulative GPA. If you're not enrolled, then no worries at all. Of course, you can put your previous GPA down as well. And then as part of this school and employment basic information is it's going to ask whether you're going to be studying on campus, online, or if you're going to be doing a hybrid, which consists of being on campus and also doing part online as well. This will be helpful information as we review your application also. As we move along, so of course, it's going to ask what grade level will you be upcoming term for semester. So what this means is we have whether you're going to be during your first year of study, if it's a 2-year program. If you're attending a bachelor's degree program, then of course, most bachelor degree programs are 4 years in the United States. So of course, it'll ask you whether, your first year undergraduate, second year undergraduate. Now, of course, all of this is going to be dependent on the option that you choose at the start of the application. In this case, we can use a graduate degree. So if you're in your first year, second year, third year, or even fourth year of a graduate degree program, then of course you can notify us. Now, as Silver stated earlier, of course, we assist students that are looking to study that are 2 years removed from graduation. So one of the big key components here is, of course, being 2 years from your graduation date. But of course, this information will be helpful to us in regards to getting your application processed. And of course, as we move along now, there are some where we would have to take a standardized test or a language test. So if you have a standardized test that you have taken or a language test that you have taken, and you do have your scores, then of course you can choose an option here. But most importantly, depending on the option that you choose, then of course later on in the application process, it's going to ask you to upload a document to verify that for us. Now, if you don't have it or if it's been waived, then of course you'll have the option here to choose waived, and then of course we'll receive that information. And then of course, if any other particular information is needed, then we'll reach out to you directly as well. So as we continue here, we know that a lot of students are currently working in their home country or they're studying in their home country. But when it comes to employment, of course, you'll notify us if you're currently employed, or if you're not employed, or if you have no employment history. This does not hinder your application at all. This is just extra information that we normally use to make an adequate decision on your application once it's fully submitted. Of course, if you're currently employed, then you would choose the currently employed option. And of course, you would provide that information to us. And as we stated before, depending on the option that you choose, of course, the application process is going to be tailored to that option. Now, as we move along, this is one of the most important parts of the application process, which is the financial information. Now, as you can see on screen here, of course, it's going to ask you for your total estimated cost for 1 year. Now, one thing to take into consideration is we have to know exactly how much time you have left until graduation. And of course, we take into consideration the full cost of the program. So as you can see here, based on the tuition costs, the cost of living, any additional costs, especially health insurance costs, will be key to provide to us. Now, what we do, of course, is we calculate it for 1 year, but overall, we'll calculate it for the time of your program that you're going to be enrolled. Now, this here is very important in regards to if you're studying in the US and you're going to be living on campus or off campus, then you would need to tell us as far as your cost of living goes based on the information that's provided to you by your institution. Now, a lot of times, certain institutions in the United States will provide you with on-campus living costs and, of course, off-campus living costs. Now, this is going to be key because we would want to take this into consideration during the approval review process to make sure that we can maximize as much funds as we can, depending on the request that you provide to us. Now, of course, as we move along here, once you've inputted your financial information in regards to the total cost of your program, the cost of living, health insurance, or any other cost that could be related to your studies, then of course, it'll take you to this screen where you'll input the loan amount that you would be requesting. Now, depending on the information that you provide, then of course, it would populate the total amount that would be requested and also needed. Now, one tip to keep in mind is that you can borrow more than your gap amount to cover for living expenses like travel, laptop, or any other education expenses, and you can request your full cost of attendance up to $100,000. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that, of course, the max loan amount that MPOWER can offer is $100,000. Now, right before I go back to the ID verification here, just a little bit more information in regards to the financial information. One thing is that we normally ask a lot of our student applicants is in order for us to make a very, very good decision in regards to your application based on the information that you provide, one of the key components is being able to provide all financial support that you're going to receive towards covering your program costs. Now, when we talk about financial support, normally what we do is we talk about any sponsor funds, any family contribution, any scholarship, or any grants that you have been offered, or any funds that you'll be using towards that program cost. Now, the reason that we normally inquire about this is because some students have certain funds that they will be using to cover towards program costs, so the student loan doesn't overburden them. So this would be a great section where you can provide that information to us, so that way we know the exact loan amount that you'll be requesting. Now, as we move forward to validating your identification and verifying it, one of the main identification documents that we would require would be your passport from your home country. So, of course, if you are from Nigeria, then we would ask you to upload your Nigerian passport. Typically, we would request a clear copy to be uploaded, so that way we can read the information on it. But most importantly, your passport would have to be non-expired. So as long as you can upload a non-expired passport, then of course we would be able to validate it and verify it and move along with the process as well. Now, once you've inputted all the information, you've given us everything that we've asked for, then of course, if we are able to conditionally approve you, then during the application process, you'll receive this message where you've been conditionally approved for an MPOWER loan for the requested amount that you have. Now, what this means is that once you confirm your loan request, then of course you'll have access to the MPOWER dashboard. So in order to obtain the final approval, you have to submit all the requested documents listed on your dashboard. And now you may be asking, what kind of documents will we be uploading? So these documents that will be on your dashboard are based on the information that you provided to us during your application process. So of course, one of the ones that we just reviewed would be your passport. So your passport would be one that you would upload. And then of course, any funding documents that you have, whether it's sponsor documents, scholarship documents, bank statements, sponsor identification. So there's going to be a section on your dashboard where it'll give you the opportunity to upload these documents as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the loan amount isn't official until we verify your documentation. So of course, you're not committing to this loan amount by clicking the following button, which would be submit. One thing to also to keep in mind is that as you submit these documents, we would need all documents being requested in order to process a full review of your application. Now, of course, once your documents are all uploaded, then of course we would be able to get a decision to you within even 3 to 5 business days to make it as quick as possible for you.
And with
Now,
that, you have made it through the loan process. Raul, I thought you may be done and I might have interrupted you. Were
no,
you
no,
saying?
no. No, I was going to say the same thing, Claire. Through that whole process, now you're fully submitted your application. So now, of course, what's going to happen next is we'll receive your application. Once we receive your application, then of course, we're going to have a designated relationship manager that's going to be assigned to this application. And that designated relationship manager is going to be your single point of contact. So you can contact them directly in regards to any questions that you may have. But most importantly, also, we have a customer support team that'll be able to answer any questions once your application has been submitted, during the application process, or even before you decide to submit an application as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Raul. That's a really meaty section, a lot of content. So good news, we'll be emailing out a recording of this webinar afterwards, as well as the deck. So don't worry if you didn't catch all the details. In our last 15 minutes, we're going to revert to audience questions and Q&A. So if you have yet to ask your burning question, now is definitely the time, since we're going to start answering some live, and also we want to make sure we get back to you. So I'm going to start with an easy one for Raul. You almost answered all of it already. So Raul, we have some people here who said they've submitted their loan application but realized they've made an error. So what's the best way to address someone that realizes they made an error after submitting?
So first off, no need to worry, no need to fear. If you have made an error by accident or non-accident, we can update that information for you. So ideally, the steps that you would want to take is, of course, contact your relationship manager. If you can't get a hold of your relationship manager, then you would contact our customer support team. Customer support team will then be able to take your request. And then based on the information that needs to be updated, of course, they'll be able to verify with you if they can update the information right there and then, or if documentation will be needed. And in regards to documentation, so sometimes we get the permanent address incorrectly. So if we update an address, then of course we would need a documentation to verify that address as well. But of course, our customer support team or our relationship managers would be able to update that for you.
Awesome. So Raul answered one question, which is, oh no, I made a mistake. What do I do? For those that have yet to fill out the loan application, Ron and underwriting, what what are some of those common mistakes you see that perhaps our attendees can watch out for?
Sure. So most of the common mistakes that we see most of the time is people saying one thing on their application and the documents not matching what they said on the application. I think that's the major one that we see. I can take you guys through a couple of examples here. One example would be, say you said you're going to you're going to New York University to study a master's in computer science. That's what it says on your application. But when we get your application based on the admission letter, we see you're actually going to New York Institute of Technology and you're studying masters in network engineering. That can cause like a delay in your application. So please be careful when you're filling out that information. That is one. Second thing, other mistakes that we see is make sure your graduation dates, your program start dates are correct because we try to prioritize applications based on when the need is the most. So if your application is going to start in say spring 2025, so we have like almost 1 year before you actually start school. Those applications are not going to be prioritized today. Right now, we are going to be focusing on applications for people who are starting their program now, like in the next 2-3 months, which is spring 2024. So those kind of mistakes can cause a lot of delays in your applications. Another thing that I see a lot is the GPA. Like most people don't have to submit a GPA or anything, especially if you're starting the program in the future. The only time you have to submit your GPA is when you're actually in school and you're enrolled. You've already completed 1 or 2 semesters currently in your school, and that's when you need to fill in that GPA question. But also make sure the GPA that you fill in your application matches the document that you're going to submit. Those are most of the kind of mistakes that we see most commonly.
Nice. So silver and coming for you. One of the most common questions we received is, how do I know if my school is eligible? Do you support my school? Are you making changes? And so on. How does someone find out if their school or their program is one that MPOWER supports?
Okay, so MPOWER, that we support more than 400 schools in the US and Canada, and with no limitation on the majors. So if you go to a school that you're wondering if it's supported by us, just go to our support school webpage. And I think our chat moderator can actually send a link in the chat box. Yeah, go to the page and search your school. And as long as your school shows up on that page, and that's covered by us.
Nice. So moving back to Ron. So Ron, many people asked, hey, do you guys only support STEM students? And the answer is no, we support everyone, but your future path does matter. Can you talk a little bit about why your future career may matter for your loan application, even if we do support all programs?
Yeah. So I think Silver kind of touched upon this in the beginning. I think when we just started this, the way Empower underwrites our loans, basically we look at your future earning potential and we completely believe in you. And like depending on what kind of program you're doing, there are different outcomes that you can kind of go through. And what we've seen is some degrees have offered like a higher salary than other degrees. For example, say you're doing a master's in computer science, your outcomes over there, you're going to either start at a very high starting salary compared to say if you're doing a master's in say public policy. Those the outcomes over there is you're going to be working at a different pay scale and the salaries are going to be very, very different, like someone who studies a master's in computer science versus someone who studies a master's in public policy. So I think that's where the difference comes into the picture. It's not like we don't support those programs. We've still given out loans to people who study masters in public policy and any other programs as well. I remember we also give out loans to students who want to study music. I remember I approved a loan personally where someone who is studying like music production or like learning to play one particular music instrument. But when we look at the application holistically, everything in that application has to make sense before we can approve that. So that's why you may see like some differences in outcomes based on what you're studying and what the future outcomes of that particular major you're studying look like.
One rule of thumb I've heard from credit experts generally, and just as if you have just no idea how much money you should be asking for, research what your first annual salary will be after school. You shouldn't ask for more money than that. So that will kind of help you benchmark whether your future career will support your loan needs or not, or your financing needs. So sort of benchmark it that way. If you don't know the answer to that question, it's a good time to go look it up online. Nice. Let me see what other common questions we get. We don't restrict loans based on nationality or program. Silver covered that. That's a really popular question. Um, what else? So, Raul, I'll ask you this one. There is an ideal time to apply for an Empower loan, and then there's the range of what's possible to apply for Empower student loan. Can you talk about both? For our early planners, when's the best time the student journey to apply? And for everyone else, what are the actual limits of when you can apply for a loan?
Definitely. So we'll start with the immediate student that's looking to cover funds for a particular semester. Let's take, for example, the spring 2024 semester. So if your spring 2024 semester has started, you're looking for funds to cover for that semester, then our recommendation would be to apply immediately. Of course, you would want to come in, upload your documents, process
And
your
by come in, he
information.
means on the internet, not our office, just to be
Yes.
super clear.
You can definitely visit our website, of course, and start the application process. But once you've submitted all your documentation and we have all your information, then we can speed up the process and help you as quickly as possible. Now, if you're thinking about studying, and let's just say you're looking for the fall 2024 semester, depending on whether you've been admitted to a school enroll or you're going to be enrolled to a school, or you're still thinking about applying to certain schools, we definitely always recommend visiting our website just to kind of process information. And then as you process this information, you can definitely apply. And somebody will reach out to you in regards to some documentation that you're going to need. The most important one is going to be your admissions letter. So in order for us to make an adequate decision, then of course we would need all your documentation. And part of all that documentation would be the admissions letter, because we would need to know that you've been admitted to the school. Now, once that admission letter has been provided, then of course we can make a decision on your application. But you can definitely start the process, 3 months out, 6 months out. We always recommend that, of course, you start the process as soon as possible, because some students may still need to, of course, process a visa interview slot. And if that is the case, then you would want to have all documentation ready. And part of that documentation would be any approval that you would have from Empower Financing directly.
Rad. Thanks, Raul. Silver. I have a simple question for you, which probably has a simple answer. If I pay off my loan early, are there penalties?
There's no penalty
Great.
at all. There's no penalty.
I was
So
expecting you just to say no. We do not have penalties. So I mean, another easy one, hopefully. Ron, can you talk a little bit about what test scores you need to apply?
So, no test scores are required for your application. If, however, you have taken a test and you want to provide that information, you can. There's nothing negative that can happen if you submit your test scores. There's only positives that can happen if your test scores are above a certain limit. So please, there's no limit. If you have not taken a test score, you don't need to submit it. If you have taken it and you want to provide that information to us, you can. It can only benefit your application.
So the rule of thumb, which I love, rules of thumbs. But the one I go with is when people ask, "Hey, what documents am I gonna need?" Whatever you use to apply to school, just save it. We're gonna ask the same things typically, so make it easy for yourself when you apply for the loan. Whatever you use to apply to school, just save it. Outside that, we're also gonna ask more about your if you make financial claims in the loan app, we'll ask you to prove it later. So documentation wise, that's really what I advise to make your documents a seamless experience. Raul, question for you. The loan, it can be used for living expenses and tuition depending on certain circumstances. Can you tell us more about what the loan can be used for depending on your actual circumstances?
Yes, of course. So that's a very general question that we get all the time in regards to what an Empower loan can cover. So, of course, your Empower loan can cover your tuition cost in the United States and Canada. It could cover your cost of living in the United States. Now, one thing to keep in mind with covering your cost of living in the United States is that once a loan is approved and then it's certified by your institution, Empower releases the funds directly to this institution. Once we release the funds to your institution, then of course you would have to contact your institution's financial aid office to gather information into how you can access the excessive funds that will be released to them to cover for your living cost. Now, if you're studying in Canada, then in Canada, there are different processes. So, of course, you would have to notify your relationship manager throughout the application process if you're looking to cover for cost of living expenses, whether it's on campus or off campus, because, of course, your relationship manager will then tell you based on the school that you're studying on whether we would be able to cover that or not. Then we also get the question, does it cover books? Does it cover laptops? It can cover books because, of course, that is an educational expense, and it can cover laptops. Now, with laptops, of course, as we stated, in the US-based schools, it goes through a certification process. So you would have to get with your school to see if they can release those excess funds, so that way you can cover for any laptop expenses. But anything that's associated with school-related expenses, an Empower loan would cover. Now, the most important part to keep in mind is that once your loan is approved, certified, and the funds are dispersed, then of course you would have to keep that line of communication open with your school and your school's financial aid office, because of course they will be able to dictate to you when you can access those funds that have been provided to them.
So another rule of thumb from Claire, I'm running out of, well, run out of thumbs, but what the loan can be used for is just more or less determined by your school. So if you want to just feel confident, you understand what the loan can be used for, talk to your school. They'll tell you their policies. I think it's good to understand that before potentially proceeding. Or is that's still the case that at the end of the day, the school policy is what people should be?
That is correct. Yeah. So that's where you would want to keep that line of communication open with your financial aid office, because of course they'll be able to notify you and dictate to you as to, what funds can be released to you and what those funds could be used for, of course.
Yeah, so we are nearing the end of our live session today. We'll go a few minutes late since we definitely started a few minutes late. And so panelists, just to bring everything together, I'm going to ask you each two questions. And for those that have done a live session with me before, I don't change the questions. So the same question each time. But one is, what is your number one tip for international students going abroad? If you just were only allowed to share one big tip with them for them to keep in mind as they go through this process. The other question is, we've all been at MPOWER for quite a while. We know the company is awesome and the best option for international students going abroad, but our attendees have just heard a lot of reasons that could be. From your perspective, what is the number one reason that we're the best financing option for international students? So two questions. Why is MPOWER often? Why is MPOWER awesome? Wrong word just completely came out. Why is MPOWER awesome? And then, of course, what is your tip for international students? I'm going to start with Silver.
All right. I'm really proud that I work at MPOWER. It's because we are definitely beyond a lender, that we offer a loan to you, and we also offer plenty of fantastic programs to you. For example, the merit-based scholarship program that we're trying to help you to succeed in your education overseas. That is my favorite program so far. And my one tip to international students is that depends on where are you from, that if you're from a culture that is very different from the US or Canada, that you may experience culture shock. Like when you come here, that you may experience that people maybe like different food, people talking in different tone, different attitude, or people may actually use different word that is not the same usual word that you will use, according to textbook. So if you experience a culture shock and stuff, just always trying to have open mind to embrace whatever happening around you, and to actually learn, because it's definitely exciting, though sometimes challenging. But overall, I do not regret come to the US, and yeah, that is my one tip.
Thank you, Silver. My is like, who do I choose next? We'll go with Raul.
Great. Thank you, Claire. So, MPOWER, why is it awesome? MPOWER is just awesome, honestly. I think the work that we have done and we continue to do, we continue to help students across the globe. We continue to make dreams a reality. Um, but as Silver stated, also, we're just not providing loans as needed, but we're also providing scholarships. So that means that, we have the ability to provide you with a scholarship where, you don't have to repay that back, right? There are a lot of qualifications that go into that, but I'm very proud of that because not a lot of student lending companies will join a lending product with also a scholarship product. So that's one of the things that makes MPOWER very awesome. And a piece of advice for our international students that are coming to study in the US or Canada, my number one piece of advice is this is all new to all of you. So please ask questions. I personally have family members that have come from abroad to study in the United States, and I randomly get a phone call throughout the day just for questions in regards to, hey, is this accurate? Is this correct? Is this the process? And as I tell them, I was like, there's a team of experts that can help you at your school. There's a team of experts that can help you at the lending company where you're choosing to get your loan from. So with MPOWER, we have a team of experts that you can call. We have a customer support team that's high class that will be able to answer all these questions for you. Don't ever think that asking 5, 10, 15, 20 questions during a phone call is a lot because we want to make sure that we can get this information out to you so that way we can help you the best way possible. But also, we want to make sure that the transition from traveling from abroad into the US or Canada is a smooth one. So that way, when you land, your questions are already answered and you're just ready to start attacking your studies.
Thank you, Raul. Ron, last, never least, what are your answers?
Okay, so first thing, why MPOWER is awesome. I think there's one answer to this. I think the most, this is what I believe. I think everyone in the company is working towards one goal, and that one goal is to make the whole lending journey easier for all international students. And I think that's why MPOWER is the most awesome company to work for. And because everyone is focused on that one goal, we try to improve our products. We try to basically do the best possible outcome for the students. And like any decision that we make, we try to keep the students in mind. So that's why MPOWER is the most awesome company. One tip that I can give students, if you want to see my usual answer, you can watch any of our past videos. But this time I'm going to keep my answer very tactical. The first thing that you do when you go to the US is go and get a state ID. Please don't carry your passport everywhere because it's very easy to lose. As soon as you get to where you are, get your state ID. If you lose that, it's very easy to get a new one. So yeah, that's my tactical tip for everyone today. Thank you.
Great advice. Secure the passport. Universal. So thank you everyone for joining us today. That goes to our panelists as well as our attendees. It's always great to have you here, and this was a really big group, which is great. So like I said, we're going to send out a recording of this webinar, and I encourage all of you to actually go to our website and check out our events page. We do these weekly, the topics change. We also have some Instagram lives going on. So if you want to know more, perhaps about this topic or a different one, come back and see us again next week. And one more note about a survey. We read every survey. If you have strong feedback, either critical or positive, about what we should keep doing, fill it out. It's important to us. We'd love to learn more. So once again, thank you all. Stay empowered, and we'll see you next week, potentially. Bye, Empower people.
Recording stopped.